Hi, my name's Joe. I'm from Hope, Maine, and I'm going to tell you some stories about my time in the Nashville music industry. This is a story for aspiring songwriters so that you're prepared and don't get your feelings crushed the first time a publisher listens to your song and he doesn't get it. I was introduced to a creative director at a major publishing company in Nashville, Tennessee. And a friend of ours, my brother and I, brought me in to meet this person specifically to play him a song that I had written. And the title of the song was Angelina, is Angelina. Now, this is a simple song. It's the first time I ever attempted a concept song. And this is a guy on a horse, on a cattle drive, coming into camp at night, rolling out his bedroll in front of the fire. As he drifts off to sleep, he dreams about Angelina, the girl he left at home. The whole object of this is he's going to finish this cattle drive, he's going to make $50, and with that $50 he's going to marry Angelina and live happily ever after. End of story. Seemed pretty simple to me. So you have to assume the character of the song, of the creative director of a publishing company. They can never just listen. They have to put on their professional hat and their posture and their persona. So this individual is listening to the song and he's holding his shoulders and he's nodding his head and he's rubbing his chin, and all these look to be good indicators. So the song concludes and he goes, "Man, I really like that song." He goes, "Do you mind if I listen to it again?" So I look at our friend Pat, and we took that as a good sign. We said, "Sure, listen again." So he cues it up and he starts to listen to it again. Again, he's rocking back and forth and rubbing his chin, holding his shoulders, and we're thinking this is all good stuff. The song concludes and he goes, "I really like this song." But he goes, "I'd really like to see this guy die and call Angelina from the grave." And at that point, my mouth fell open, and I leaned forward, and I was beginning to speak when Pat grabbed me by the leg and squeezed me, and he said, "I'm not sure we'd have thought of that," and we left it at that. Now, that's an object lesson, getting your ego out of the way, because you're going to get slapped around as a songwriter. Not everybody's going to get it. The other lesson in that is, if I had been smarter and understood the business better at that point, I would have looked at this person and I would have said, "I'm not sure I'd have thought of that. Why don't we write that together?" Now I would have been the co-writer on a song that was going to be published by the largest independent publishing company in Nashville, increasing the chances of that song getting recorded by about 50%. So there's that story. Oh boy. How I became a songwriter. Writing, you grow, you try some things, and they don't always work, and some songs come to you in a bolt. They are from start to finish a 20-minute song, and I wrote this little song called "Waiting for the Phone to Ring," and I was married at the time, and my wife was a little late coming home from work. This was before cell phones, and I was a little worried about her, and I was waiting for the phone to ring. I was waiting for some sort of confirmation that she was on her way home or okay. So I'm sitting at the dining room table with my guitar into a boom box, and I start strumming out this little song, and the next thing you know, I've got the thing written, and I pull the cassette out and throw it in a shoebox full of other stuff that I have, and I never really thought much of it after that. My brother Bob, who you've spoken to already, went through my shoebox at some point and found the song and liked it and convinced me to go into the studio and like Gypsies in the Palace late at night when all the owners and everybody went away. We went in there with a group of friends and we demoed the song. And that was, as far as I was concerned, the last we'd ever hear of it, because I didn't think that much of the song, honestly. So back then in Nashville, there was a a morning DJ on WSIX by the name of Jerry House, and he had a show called The House Foundation. And one of the segments of his show was the Daily Demo, and the Daily Demo would run at 6:30 in the morning. So everybody in the industry would listen to House's show, and they'd want to hear the Daily Demo because they didn't know whether they were going to get the best laugh of the day or actually hear a hit song. So my clock radio goes off, and I'm hearing this intro, and it's starting to sound vaguely familiar, and then all of a sudden it breaks into the verse, and I realize that's me singing, and that's my song, and I have no idea how it got to Jerry House in this Daily Demo. Now, I'm trying to be taken seriously as a songwriter, and I feel like my chances just got dashed, that the whole community, the whole town has heard this piece of crap that I wrote, and they're going to tell them who wrote it. So I called Bob, and I go, "Are you listening?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "How the hell did this happen? How could..." And he goes, "Well, I did it." "You did it? Why would you do that? You've ruined me." And he goes, "Oh, you're overreacting like you so often do." Okay. 45 minutes later, at my home phone, I get a call from Tony Brown, the president of MCA Records in Nashville. He says, "Is this Joe Tassi?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he goes, "This is Joe Tassi who wrote Waiting for the Phone to Ring?" I said, "Well, yes, it is." And he goes, "This is Tony Brown. Do you know who I am?" And there was a pause, and he goes, "Joe, are you there?" "Yeah." "It's Tony Brown. Do you know who I am?" And I said, "Yeah, Tony, we all know who you are. You're president of MCA Records." And he goes, "Great, that's going to make this a lot easier. How do you feel about us cutting that song on Patti Loveless next week? We're going to bring in Mac McAnally and Dolly Parton, and we're going to do it right." And another long pause, and he goes, "Joe, are you still there?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm still there." He goes, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I think I feel a lot better than I did 45 minutes ago when I thought my career was over." So that's how I became a recorded songwriter, purely by accident, thanks to my brother, who also pulled me kicking and screaming to Nashville, from San Francisco. Always the wiser of the two. And through a series of steps, I went from getting involved in the Nashville music scene, not having a job. I had to go out on the road and drive tour buses for entertainers for a while. I morphed from that into a tour manager. I morphed from that into a relationship with a gentleman who was managing Restless Heart, which was a prominent country band at that time, who was just about to open Arista Records' Nashville division. So he and I became personally acquainted with each other. And he would sit up, he didn't sleep on the bus well, so he'd sit up all night long, and we'd talk shop. And you learn right away in Nashville, if you want to be taken seriously, we use the term gurm. You don't gurm people, you don't push yourself on people, you don't, automatically volunteer and tell them you're a songwriter. You let the conversation evolve naturally. And so this guy didn't sleep well on the bus, so we'd sit up there and talk all night long, and it came out that I was a songwriter. And then he wanted to listen to some of the things that I had written, so I let him listen to some things, and he said, "Well, you're really talented, but you're not there yet." And he goes, "Here's a series of steps I'd like you to start doing." And he goes, "You and I are going to make contact with each other once a month. I'm going to call you, or you're going to call me, and we're going to get together, and you keep writing. We're going to see how this is progressing." He goes, "What you're missing is the geographics. You clearly got talent as a songwriter, but you don't understand the South," which was true, being from San Francisco. So he said, "I'm going to invite you to places and, sessions and this and that." And he goes, "You're going to, for the next 3 years, you're just going to be quiet. You're not going to talk. You're going to soak it all in, and I'm going to help you do that." And he goes, "I'll listen to your songs, we'll make critique, and see if we can get this improving." So that relationship led me into a job with him. He called me on the phone. I was tour managing for 2 other country acts, and he needed a tour manager for Pam Tillis, who he had just signed to Arista Records. And he knew that's not really what I wanted to do, but he said, "Look, if you do this for me," he goes, "you can run the house sound. You can manage the tour on the road. You're good with the business. Push come to shove, you can be the relief bus driver. I can pay you more and get all these things out of you, and it'll be good for you and it'll be good for the artist, and I feel confident. And he goes, if you do that, a year from now, I'll bring you into the label and I'll find a place for you. Well, I needed the gig, so I was happy to take it. So I went out on the road with Pam Tillis. And that was an interesting experience. Pam is an eclectic, energetic, hard to contain woman, but we managed to have a good tour with each other. So he said a year, 13 months, almost to the day, I was off the road at home, and he called me at the house and he goes, "Are you home now?" And I said, "I am." And he goes, "Well, you must be getting bored." And he talked like this. He goes, "You getting bored yet, mister?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a little bored." He goes, "Well, why don't you come in on Monday and I'll introduce you to the staff and we'll figure out what we're going to do with you." And I said, "Great." So I go to Arista Records on Monday morning and he introduces me to the entire staff. And Alan Jackson was in that day, so we met Alan Jackson and we talked about Pam's tour and the record sales. And I met with lawyers and sat in his office and drank coffee and smoked cigarettes for 3 days. This is great. And I said, after the third day of meeting all these different people, and I said, "Tim, are you ever going to tell me what I do here?" And he goes, "No, mister, I'm not." He goes, "There's an empty office down the hall." He goes, "Go get you a good stereo and tell Ramona to fill it up with furniture and get to work." So literally, business cards and title to follow, I became the head of A&R for Arista Records, Now, it sounds like a fluke story, but through the course of our relationship, Tim had to have developed some trust that I knew and could hear a hit song. And as Bob has discussed with you, his ability to hear inside of a mix, I have a slightly different ability. I can pick a hit song and had a pretty good track record of doing so. So that was really my job at Arista Records. I got a phone book and I looked up all the publishers that I felt were important to meet. Having Arista Records as my calling card made it easy to gain those appointments and those sessions with people. So I started going through every publishing company in town, meeting their song pluggers, meeting their creative directors, and going through their catalog song by song, hour by hour. And I started throwing some hit songs at our artists, and it started becoming apparent that I had a gift for this. So Luck Bucket becoming a songwriter, Luck Bucket becoming a tour manager because the tour manager quit, and Luck Bucket becoming an A&R executive with absolutely no experience whatsoever. And that's my record industry story.